My name is Francesca, and I'm the founder and president of Inspiring My Generation. We're a 501c3 for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. I actually started Inspiring My Generation as a blog when I was 12, and the goal back then was just to inspire people and to have conversations people weren't having. I was really struggling with a lot of different things, and anytime I tried to talk about it, people would say, oh, grow up, get over it, stop acting like a baby, all those things we tell kids. So I decided to start blogging to just talk about it and release some of that emotion. And blogging wasn't a thing back then, of course. So I got teased and bullied for it. So I turned it into a podcast. Podcasting also wasn't a thing back then. I was way ahead of my time, but I was just so determined to have a conversation. So here I am 10 years later at 25 years old with a podcast called Normalize the Conversation as part of the nonprofit. Donated over 10,000 handmade cards to patients hospitalized in psych wards. Published 4 workbooks as guides to help youth and young adults build the tools that I never had, that I always needed. And I host workshops. I'm a keynote speaker, panelist. I get to do all the things I never thought were possible. I think that mental health is an important topic because it impacts all of us. We all have mental health. It's a sliding scale, just like physical health, where there's wellness and there's illness. It's the same thing with mental health. And it's something that impacts all of us. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, how much money you have, what your ethnicity is, whatever differences, gender, none of that can prevent you from struggling. None of that makes it impossible for you to struggle. It's something that's like the great equalizer, right? No matter who we are or where we come from, what our backgrounds are, we're all vulnerable to sliding along that scale. And that's okay. But it's not okay that we don't offer tools, that we don't offer resources, that there's limited access to tools or resources. One person doesn't deserve more support than someone else because of different privileges that someone has. So I think mental health is important and an important topic because not only can it impact all of us, it's also not the treatment, the support, the tools aren't accessible to all of us. And we constantly need to be having a discussion about why it's not accessible to everyone, why it's not more preventative, and what can we do so that every single human, every single person can get the support and help and tools and preventative measures that they need. I think my work is very unique in the sense that it's very personal. It's very personal and tangible. A lot of times we see suicide prevention as conversations, but not as increase of access, increase of tools. A lot of times we see it as being listing stats. And I think what makes Inspiring My Generation so unique is that, yes, we're having the conversations, but we're having it on a wide platform and making sure everyone has a seat at the table. You don't have to be a celebrity or an influencer for your voice to be heard. You can be someone just with a story. And I make sure that our guests come from all diverse backgrounds from all over the globe because no matter who you are, your voice and your story, your needs and your wants and your goals, all of it deserves to be heard. Another thing that makes us very unique is the encouragement card program. Because not only are individuals receiving messages of support in a critical time while hospitalized in a psych ward, we have volunteers nationwide who are engaging in discussions with their friends or workers or loved ones as they're creating these cards together and normalizing that people struggle, but there's things we can say, things we can do to help them. And third, I'd say with the workbooks aren't telling you what to do and how to do it. A lot of times we see people giving books or workbooks or creating these programs that's like, if you do X, Y, Z, you will be saved. But my workbooks, as part of Inspiring My Generation, making them accessible, is all about giving you a guide to find what works for you. I don't know what's going to work for you, but I can give you a guide that I used for me to find out what worked for me, and hopefully that guide can help you figure it out for you. It's a roadmap, but it's not marking your starting and your ending point. It's just showing you the different directions you can go, and I think that makes it very unique. One thing I really love to do is be honest and authentic in my social media. I mean, something that I always felt very envious about was seeing posts of other people smiling and all these fun captions, how happy they are and how great life is. And I always wondered, why is my life not like that? And I'd look on social media and I try to create these moments where I looked so happy and have these fun captions, and it just wasn't where I was at. So I decided to start posting more authentically and sharing in captions what I'm going through, what I'm feeling, where I am, how far I've come. I'll talk about those times where I feel overwhelmed by this idea of being isolated, from feeling a lack of support. Sometimes it's from comparing ourselves and the messaging that society is giving to us. Sometimes it's from injury or from loss. There's so many different causes, but that's the thing. Part of life is that we get to have the good and the bad times. But when those bad times come, what are we doing? How are we supporting each other? What are the tools we have to get through it? And I think one of the biggest causes of sustained mental health issues and challenges is not equipping people with the tools before they need it. Growing up in first grade, I was taught that I had to say no when I was uncomfortable. In third grade, I was taught that people can tease you, but you're not supposed to let it bother you. I wasn't taught that it's okay if you are upset, but what can you do to make you feel beautiful and strong and amazing and not feel like the words that are being thrown at you? In high school, I was taught that how you look matters. If you have enough makeup on, if you have all the cool technology devices and social media and how many followers you have. But I wasn't taught how to validate myself and encourage myself and love myself for who I am without any of that. So I think one of the reasons that a lot of people struggle with mental health conditions outside of social cause is a lack of tools equipping them with the support that they need to get through it. I think that across all gender identities, it's incomparable on who struggles more, because every struggle is so unique to each person. And if you're looking at traditional gender roles, it may appear that women struggle more than men, but boys are also taught in their initial messaging that they have to be strong and powerful and a superhero. And girls are taught in their initial messaging to be a damsel in distress who needs to be saved, or to chase after that great love, chase after the boy. So, not to say that every messaging is always like that, but I think that's the messaging that I really took in. So we might not see it as much with individuals who identify as male, but I think that, again, it's incomparable because every struggle and challenge and experience is so unique to the individual. But I think it's more socially acceptable for an individual who identifies as a female to be quote-unquote emotional. But again, I think it's incomparable in that everyone struggles. And I hope that we get to a point where everyone has access to the tools, but also that everyone has the safe space to talk about